Hi, welcome back to Worldwide News Channel. I'm your host, Isabel Martinez. In today's episode, we have a very special guest star, Alberto Coins. Albert Coins is an expert in the breakup of Yugoslavia, and he has been studying it ever since it has occurred. He was there during the breakup of Yugoslavia. Please welcome Alberto.
Hi Isabel, thank you for having me here today. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because I've been studying it for so long. Let's get started.
Can you please tell us a little bit about Yugoslavia before the breakup?
There are many ethnic groups in Yugoslavia such as the Serbs, Montenegrins, Macedonians, Croats, Slovenes, Muslim Bosniaks, and Albanians. The dominant ethnic group in Yugoslavia were the Serbs. The majority of these groups spoke the language Serbo-Croatian, even though they had different religions. Yugoslavia had 6 republics: Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Macedonia. These 6 republics were each home to a different ethnic group, but also had ethnic minorities.
What were the major causes of the breakup of Yugoslavia?
Yugoslavia was torn apart because of ethnic, national, and religious tensions and political disintegration during the 1990s. Tito was the president of Yugoslavia, and when his death was announced on May 4, 1980, ethnic tensions started to grow in Yugoslavia because Tito was known as the main unifying force of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was held together and controlled by its Communist Party. The fall of communism in Eastern Europe in 1989 was the event that triggered the breakup of Yugoslavia because it caused a national unrest throughout Yugoslavia and led to both Slovenia and Croatia declaring independence on June 25, 1991, which stimulated other republics of Yugoslavia to want to become independent as well. This led to Serbs, Croats, Montenegrins, Bosnians, and Slovenes all fighting in order to create their own separate nations and declare independence from Yugoslavia. The capital of Yugoslavia, Belgrade, wanted to keep Yugoslavia united. This disagreement led to the Yugoslav Wars, which lasted from 1980 to 1991 and were considered the most deadly European conflicts since World War II.
What were some of the major events that occurred during the breakup of Yugoslavia?
The first war was the Slovenian Independence War, which started when Slovenia declared independence from Yugoslavia in 1991. This war was fought between the Slovenian rebels and the Yugoslav People Army, also known as the JNA, and ended 10 days when the Brioni Accord was signed by both sides, declaring Slovenia an independent nation. Croatia declared independence the same day as Slovenia, which started the Croatian War of Independence, fought from 1992 to 1995, which was fought between the Croatians and the JNA, and ended in Croatia becoming an independent nation just like Slovenia. After this came the Civil War of Bosnia, which also lasted from 1992 to 1995. This civil war occurred after Bosnia declared independence in 1992 and was a war between the Serbs and the Bosnians and Croats. It occurred because the country's Serb minority wanted to form an independent Bosnian Serb republic, but the Muslim Bosniaks, the largest group in Bosnia, didn't want the country to be divided into ethnic regions. Bosnian Serbs participated in an ethnic cleansing, meaning they killed and removed people from other ethnic groups in order to create ethnically pure areas, which caused the mass execution and murder of thousands of Bosnians and Croats. In turn, Bosnians and Croats launched an ethnic cleansing campaign against the Serbs. Even though this war ended in 1995, the killing of Serbs, Bosnians, and Croats went on until November 2005, when a peace deal called the Dayton Peace Deal was struck, which gave half of Bosnia to the Serbs. This event was classified as a genocide, and bodies from this war are still being found today. In 1996, the Kosovo Liberation Army, an Albanian military organization, started to fight for Kosovo's independence from Serbia, which started the war in Kosovo, which ended in 1999, when both sides agreed to a ceasefire. Even though the war ended, the region of Kosovo is still disputed between the Serbians and the Albanians. Macedonia declared its independence from 1991 and went through a peaceful separation, unlike many of the other new nations, because it had no Serb minority. After the war, Serbia and Montenegro formed the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, but they later broke up into 2 independent nations.
So, what were some of the consequences of the breakup of Yugoslavia?
The breakup of Yugoslavia had many bad effects on the area as a whole.
Oh, what were some of the bad events that occurred during the breakup of Yugoslavia, and how did this affect Yugoslavia as a whole?
Well, because of the many wars for independence of all the new independent nations of Yugoslavia, these wars resulted in many deaths, which decreased the population count in the area of former Yugoslavia. The breakup resulted in decreased trade because the outside nations started to fear Yugoslavia, which also contributed to the major loss in tourists, as Yugoslavia was once a popular tourist destination. It also left the new independent nations of Yugoslavia in debt. Even though it had many bad consequences, this event formed many new independent and successful nations which are still standing today.
In your opinion, what was the significance of the breakup of Yugoslavia?
The breakup of Yugoslavia was a significant event in history for Europe because it resulted in the death of hundreds and thousands of people, the relocation of millions, and the founding of new independent nations. However, other than these things, if the breakup of Yugoslavia never happened, there would not be a lot of change except for a few things in the former region of Yugoslavia, such as the language and culture of the citizens. All of the new nations that exist today separately would still exist, but they would still be just united as Yugoslavia.
Wow, that was a very interesting event that occurred. Thank you, Albert Coins, for joining with us today.
It was a pleasure being here today. Thank you, Isabel.
Join us next week on Worldwide News Channel when we talk about different events that occur throughout our world.